Hey folks, Lester Smith here with a quick and dirty demo of how I use the D6x D6 role-playing game system to play solitaire adventures in other game systems, because there are tons of good solo adventures out there, and who wants to learn a new system every time you want to play one of them? So you may hear some thunder in the background here. We've got a thunderstorm coming in. You may hear my dogs barking, whatever. This is pretty much stream of consciousness. I'm not going to do much editing to it, maybe take out some long pauses while I sit and stare at something. But otherwise, what you see is what you get. So if you're not familiar with D6x D6, you can check out the full rules at d6xD6.com. That website is the rules, and we're going to be using those a little bit as we go. The adventure in this case is Alone Against the Flames, an introductory free Call of Cthulhu solitaire adventure. You can find it on Drive-Thru, and let's get started. So first thing I'm going to do is expand this to page width so that I can read it a little more easily, and we'll close that, and I put on my glasses. Over here on the side, I have a quick template I put together of a D6x D6 character sheet in Windows Notepad. And so here we go. Alone Against the Flames, solo adventure for Call of Cthulhu, 7th edition quick start rules. It's by Gavin Inglis, and I will skip most of this introduction, just point out that this particular horror story is set in the 1920s, and they give you the option of downloading the free quick start rules. There's actually an interactive PDF of the character sheet that does all of the math for you, which is it's a great character sheet, but I'm trying to avoid all that math. You don't need to read the rules before you start playing. Just settle in a comfortable chair before a roaring fire. Then read on and follow the instructions. On second thought, don't sit too close to the fire. Go to number 1. The sun is high in the sky, a merciless ball of heat. You feel scorched by the time you reach the bus halt in front of Osborne's drugstore. It's a relief to put down your heavy cases and take off your hat for a moment. You fan your face. It has been a long summer here in your hometown, and yet a curiously empty one. You look across the street at the grubby butcher shop, the grocer's with its fading awning, and the shabby tobacconist. Mistrustful faces glare at you as they pass, eyeing your clothes and luggage. It was your parents' choice to live here, not yours. You were happy down south as a child, among Providence's white-walled houses and leafy churchyards. Perhaps this new job in Arkham will supply the change you need. Yet everybody you know in the world lives here. You know nobody in Arkham, not one soul. You ask yourself one last time if you're doing the right thing. The answer is here. None of your supposed friends have come to see you off. You are alone. Whatever challenges lie in Arkham, it will be a new life and a brave one. A small gray motor coach approaches and rattles to a stop. You put your hat back on and pick up your case. Go to 263. 263. Two young men with sullen expressions alight from the coach. One looks you up and down before heading away. The driver also steps down, glancing at you before crossing the road to visit the tobacconist. When he returns, he's rolling a cigarette between his yellowed fingers. He gives it a final twist and examines you as he reaches for his matchbox. He is a thin man in his 50s, dressed in a stained shirt with the company emblem, yet his eyes are sharp in their dark sockets. Where to? You show him your ticket for Ossipee. From there you will connect to Rochester and Portsmouth before the coastal line to Newburyport and finally Arkham. You should be able to afford a rail ticket for at least some of the way. Otherwise, this will be the first of many long bus trips. Mm-hmm. The driver scratches the match and lights his cigarette. The end flares as he takes a draw. Then he exhales and gestures to the back of the coach. Luggage rack's up there. Look at your investigator sheet. At the top, you'll have space. This is the Call of Cthulhu stuff. There are 8 characteristics: strength, constitution, power, dexterity, appearance, size, intelligence, and education. And they have you allocate 40, 50, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70, and 80. If you want more information, look at page 6 of the Quick Start rules. So this is our first look at doing this with D6 by D6. I haven't even come up with a name, gender, or anything. So let's do that. And to do just a completely random character, I like to randomize a name. D6 by D6 website has this JavaScripted character name generator, and I'm going to generate a male name, a female name, and a last name, and then decide which one of these kind of sounds best together. And I kind of like Wade Albright, so we'll go with that. So gender we've decided is male. Age we don't know yet. Well, let's see if the adventure says something about that. Attributes. In D6 by D6 there are 4 instead of that list of I think 8 in Call of Cthulhu. They are brawn, grace, will, and wits. And you choose one of them as your best and one as your worst, and the other 2 are middling. For Wade, I think I kind of feel like playing a strong-willed character. Now, on a normal character sheet, you would circle this. Instead, I'm going to type it in all caps. That's how I remind myself. And then, which one do we want to have as the worst of them? Well, let's make him, should we make him small or I think his worst one is grace. And the way I indicate that to myself is by doing it in all lowercase. The other 2 will be middling. Now, this brings us to the idea of focus. In D6 by D6, you have one number alone, and that's called your focus number. And it's based on your occupation counts as 1 point, and then however many focused skills you choose. Minimum number of skills is 1, maximum number is 9, which gives you a focus range of somewhere between 2 and 10. I'm going to wait for a little bit to figure out that number, but I mention it because anything that is focused, like this will, you are rolling your focus number or above, and it's D6 by D6, meaning you multiply one D6 by the other, which gives this kind of quasi-logarithmic scale from 1 to 36, with 36 being the best out of it. So for focused skills, you are rolling that number or above. For unfocused, in this case, wits and brawn are unfocused attributes, you're rolling that number or below. And the other thing is called, the other rating is called unknown. His grace is rated at unknown level. And for that, you're rolling below the number. So we've got the basis of our character started. When you've done those stats, go to 8. The driver smokes and watches as you drag your cases to the back of the motor coach. The rack is set inconveniently high on the vehicle. You get a grip on the heavier case. If your size is 40, go to 23. If your size is higher than this, go to 38. 40, if you remember, was their lowest stat. So if brawn had been my suckiest, I would say go to 23. But it being middling, let's go to 38. The driver continues to enjoy his cigarette, watching with keen interest as you struggle with the cases. You grit your teeth and heave the second one into place. Perhaps the residents of Arkham will have better manners. Go to 233. The driver flicks his cigarette into the gutter and steps into the motor coach. Its engine coughs into life. You board, grateful that you will be the only passenger for the initial part of your trip, at least. With mixed emotions, you watch from the window as the tired avenues of your old home slip behind you, receding into the distance. For a few minutes, you can still see the church spire over the brow of a low hill. Then the road dips and it, too, is gone. Arkham is your new home. You will travel there and make a new start. Okay, so they tell you about how to use those characteristics, the 40, 50, 50, and so on. First, divide each by 5, round down, write the result in the lower box. If you're using the interactive PDF version, it'll do all the math for you. And then there's a record sanity and magic points in a track. Um, I happen to know in Call of Cthulhu that sanity and your mythos knowledge, which is basically the magic stuff, are inverse. They're inverse in out of a scale of 100. So if you've got a 25 in sanity, you could have up to a 75 in Cthulhu mythos. And as your Cthulhu mythos goes up, your sanity naturally goes down. But anyway, we are going to use will for sanity, and if we end up with any magic, I guess we'll use wits. All right, go to 134. The coach putters through the countryside. At first, the interior is stifling, and your stomach lurches with every bend in the road. However, the driver opens his window, and by switching seats, you find a spot where the breeze hits your face. You soon relax into the journey, observing the quaint little hamlets that the coach serves. A heavy-set woman boards at one settlement and gives you a polite nod. She gets off at the next one. The road rises a little, passing cornfields and orchards. The leaves are turning and the trees are alive with glorious reds and golds. You've just begun to doze when the driver takes a tight bend at speed. Okay, add size and con together, divide by 10. So they tell you how to do a luck score. We'll worry about what to use for that later. They want you to do a dex roll on percentile dice. So we are going to just consider this a grace roll, and I suck at grace. Let's go make the roll. Now, for this, I like to use Google Dice whenever I'm doing an online thing. And it's a great little tool. You can hit roll and it rolls all the dice. It's got all the polyhedrals you can see. You can click and take out dice. You can add more and so on. In this case, we're going to need 2 6-siders because it is D6 by D6. And we're going to make our first roll. I need to decide on a focus number. So, I don't have an occupation. You know, for now, high focus being a 10, max focus being a 10, let's just call this a 10. I wish we already knew what kind of adventure they were, or character they were expecting us to have. I've turned on the light so that I can see my keyboard a little better. So, rolling against a 10. I have a 3 times a 1. I need to roll below my focus number, and I did. I got a total of 3. 1 times 3. All right. Awesome. Oh, if you passed the dex roll, go to 261. A desperate yell awakens you. You feel yourself slide from the seat as the driver spins the wheel and the motor coach plunges off the road. You grab hold of the seat in front just in time to prevent a painful fall. The coach stops with a thump. Now you see what has happened. A Fordson tractor has stopped in the road and your driver has had to swerve to avoid this steel obstacle. He leaps from his seat into the road, unleashing a string of curses at the farmer. You take a moment to catch your breath. Perhaps you should offer assistance? But the driver has already returned. He backs the coach up a little and threads it around the tractor, glaring at the farmer. Go to 71. You resume your journey. The driver takes the curves with more caution than before. He glances over his shoulder at you a couple of times. Sorry about before, he says. That fellow was dumber than a hog. I'm Silas. What's your name? The accident was at least as much Silas's fault as the farmer's, but it doesn't seem shrewd to antagonize the man while he is driving you through the middle of nowhere. Okay, make up a name for your character, which we already did. Wade Albright. Recorded, yeah, you may add your age for purpose of adventure between 23 and 36. Let's make, well, since he's a new character, let's just go ahead and make him 23. A young guy. And the coach turns onto a narrower road, which weaves uphill through woodland. Silas becomes chatty. Going to Arkham, eh? Can't say I've ever heard of the place. Went to Boston once. Didn't like it. Too much hustle and bustle. You got family there? A special someone waiting? The afternoon is wearing on. You see no harm in confiding in Silas about your new life. A job, eh? What's your line? Choose an occupation for your character from the following options: antiquarian, doctor of medicine, journalist, private investigator, or professor. Oh man, I was going to say doctor of medicine, but his grace sucks. I guess he just won't be a surgeon. Yeah, let's go with that. So he is an MD. Now in D6 by D6, this decides a lot of what your character can do. Just when a task comes up, if you can rationalize that your occupation can handle it, then you'll make a focused roll. And if that can't, then you'll look at focused skills, or you'll look at skills, I should say. And if none of those handle it, you might end up rolling against one of your attributes, but I try to avoid that as much as possible. Attributes have a different role in D6 by D6, basically to start off with for flavor about your character, but they also can add a little bit of defense if you get into combat. Okay, so we went Doctor of Medicine, go to 226. You mentioned the residency you will be taking up at St. Mary's Hospital. The institution is well regarded, and you are both thrilled and slightly uneasy at the range of patients and maladies it receives. Still, as an old professor of yours used to say, by practice alone can you become expert. A doctor, eh? Folks'll always be needing those. Did you catch a note of distrust in Silas's voice? Or are you just being paranoid? Your credit rating skill is 30%. Your occupation skills are, and they list first aid, other language, medicine, psychology, and so on. So your credit rating, that 30% is not great. I'm going to call this an unfocused skill. just because it sounds like maybe at some point we'll be rolling against that to see if we can afford something. First aid, yeah, of course. I'll just roll against MD. Other languages, Latin. Um, that one I kind of like to list as a second language. That's the term I use in D6 by D6. Not, and psychology, science, biology, and pharmacy. And you may also pick two other skills as relevant academic or personal specialties. And these would definitely be focused skills because they don't fall directly under the occupation. So, what are we going to have for this doctor? Um, I think nothing immediately springs to mind. We have a focus rating of 10. For you know what, I'm going to go ahead and shoot for that. So we're going to need 9 skills, and you can make up anything you want. You could have origami, for example, if you wanted to. But the D6 by D6 rules do have a list of suggested basic skills. So let's take a look here. Athletics, no, I don't think so. Bargaining, maybe. We'll come back to that. Computers, no, doesn't exist. First aid, we've taken. Lock picking, no. Martial arts, I kind of like the idea that this guy maybe has been trained as a boxer. Um, okay, navigation, persuasion. Yeah, let's go with persuasion. Oh, pickpocketing. Um, and before I forget, I'm going to save this character sheet. Pickpocketing, and not for a doctor. Ride animal. Let's give him that. He has some skill, some equestrian skill. Second language I've already done, but I put these under unfocused, and these I meant to be focused. Sorry about that. So I'm going to give him another second language. He knows a little bit of French, and actually I think I am going to make this one unfocused. He's not that good at it. Second language, French. All right, what else? We've got 4 skills. I was hoping to have 9. Shooting? Sure. He's trained with shotgun for some skeet shooting with other doctors. Swimming? That sounds like a good athletic skill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Throwing, tracking, vehicle. I'm gonna list this as automobile, that he knows how to drive. And beginning characters in D6 by D6 should have 3 unfocused skills. These are things that either you're just beginning to learn or that you've known but you've kind of let grow rusty. And in this case, I'm going to say he has let not just his French grow rusty, but his German. He knows a little bit of that as well. I have no idea if these are going to be of any use in the adventure, but this sounds like an interesting character to play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So with his occupation, that totals to an 8, and we'll go ahead and play with a focus of 8. All right, back to the adventure. Where were we? Then go to 128. You realize Silas hasn't made a stop since the incident with the tractor. The motor coach winds its way uphill. However, your thoughts are interrupted as the road crests a ridge and you're treated to a magnificent view of the vista below. A creek snakes through the valley, breaking the rich autumn palette of the tree line. In the distance, the white mountains rise into hazy cloud. There is no settlement, not even a cabin, as far as the eye can see. Birds drift through the treetops, and you can just make out what might be two white-tailed deer lingering by the water. Perhaps you're making a mistake by moving to the city. Could you survive on your own in this lush wilderness? You have a base ability in most skills listed in brackets after the skill name on the investigator sheet. For example, you have 20% at climb and a base dodge. This is Call of Cthulhu specific thing. Um, I will just say again that if you're using their interactive PDF, it does all the math for you. Go to 144. The motor coach rattles on through the hills and Silas lapses into silence. The sky darkens behind you, pinks tinting the clouds as the sun descends. Finally, a welcome sight comes into view, a settlement on the crest of a hill. This doesn't look like the pictures you've seen of Ossipee, but perhaps you can persuade Silas to stop while you stretch your legs. Minutes later, a harsh stuttering from the engine interrupts your reverie. Silas frowns and rattles the gear sticks. The motor coughs, or the motor coach falters in its ascent. Silas utters a curse you don't recognize and grinds his teeth, struggling at the wheel. You seem to inch up the hill until you reach the first buildings, low dwellings constructed from a rough red stone. Silas wrestles the coach into a small bay off the road. He scrambles from his seat and makes for the engine compartment. You must choose now to roll against drive auto or psychology. Boy. Well, see, I got automobile I could roll against, but psychology under the occupation of MD would work. Um, if you choose drive auto, then roll equal to or less than the skill value. If you choose psychology, you need a hard success. Okay, so we are not going to go into psychology using it um, because that would impose a penalty on the dice roll. Okay, we have a focus of 8, and this is a focused skill, automobile. Here we go. I need to roll above an 8, or an 8 or above. 2 times 4 is an 8. Exactly what we needed. Awesome. I hope that's awesome. If you succeed against Drive Auto, go to 174. The grinding noises you heard could, of course, indicate engine trouble, but they also seem consistent with bad gear selection and incorrect declutching. It seems highly unlikely that an experienced coach driver would suddenly get this wrong, even after a long day's drive. If this is a ruse to make you spend your time and money in a local shop, Silas will be sadly disappointed in your purchasing power. I guess that credit rating's hurting us. Okay, on your investigator sheet, check mark small box to the left of towards Drive Auto. In Call of Cthulhu, when you use something successfully, you put a check mark next to it, and at the end of the adventure, you get a roll to see if it improves. For D6 by D6, I'm just going to see how many of these we accumulate and see how many experience points that sounds like it's worth. Okay, go to 194. Silas opens the engine compartment open and sticks his head inside. The hot metal pops and sizzles. He pokes at various components, then withdraws and wipes his brow, smearing it with dark grease. I ain't sure what's wrong. Might be the oil pressure. Might be something knocked off kilter when we took that spill. Can't do much until the engine cools, neither. And with the light failing, I reckon we'll be here through the night. He wipes his hands on a rag. The shadows from your surroundings are already long, and the air is chilly. You feel stiff from the journey, and a night in the rickety coach sounds unappealing. Silas sees your dismay. This here's Amberhead, miles from any place. I only come through twice a week, but the folks here are good people. May Ledbetter keeps a spare room. She'll look after you. Up that alley, turn right, first house on the left. He scratches his cheek, looks again into the engine compartment, and spits on the ground. Meet me back here at 8 in the morning, and we'll see how's we stand. To look for May Ledbetter's house, go to 267. To ask Silas where he will spend the night, go to 251. To challenge Silas about the breakdown, go to 257. Well, we suspect that maybe he faked it, but I don't think that's enough to justify confronting the guy. So um, let's go to May Ledbetter's house and see what's going on. You drag your cases between the sullen buildings. You feel surprisingly weary considering you've spent all day sitting down. Silas's directions lead you to a modest dwelling with a slate roof. A nameplate reads Ledbetter, and underneath a sign in neat copperplate reads Lodging Room. The lane around you is gloomy, but a lamp flickers in the window. A breeze chills your face. You're not about to begin your new life by sleeping in the street. You rap on the weather-beaten door. Go to 4. After a moment, you hear footsteps inside the house. A bolt is drawn back and the wooden door swings open. A figure with loose curls and a rough-looking house dress peers at you. Her gaze takes in your traveling suit and your cases. Her voice has a slight Irish lilt. Okay, we'll see how my Irish lilt goes. Hello. Should I take it as you're looking for a room for the night? You inquire as to her rates, suppressing a grimace. As far as you've seen, the village does not offer you many alternatives. Oh, you'll find them very reasonable, she says. You look tired. I'm May. Come inside and we'll talk over a cup of tea. The Ledbetter house feels cramped with a low ceiling and simple fittings, but it is well kept, and a cheerful fire crackles in the grate. The aroma of the tea is soothing, and the cup warms your fingers. Have you come to Amberhead for the festival? Asks May. To explain what happened with Silas and the coach, go to 14. To ask about the festival, go to 21. I think our man, Dr. Albright, would ask about the festival. Well, now, I suppose the festival is about the only reason folks come to Amberhead. I thought you maybe had come to study or take photographs. Well, it's not tomorrow night, but the night after. I suppose it looks very strange to a passerby. May tops up your tea. The spout chinks against your cup. We got the beacon, you see. One night every year there's a torchlit procession and we light the beacon on the cliffs. You've never seen the like of it. They say it keeps the spirit of the village alive for another year. It's a celebration. A celebration. She tails off for a moment and blinks. But you didn't come here to listen to me blather, and you must be hungry. I can rustle you up a bit of stew. How would that be? You ask about her rates again, and May names a price so low you accept it without hesitation. The room is small but comfortable, and the stew dark and hearty. After dinner, you have a couple of hours before your usual bedtime. To talk to May some more, go to 31. To walk around and get your bearings, go to 75. To turn in for an early night, go to 63. I don't feel like turning in, and exchanged pleasantries with May, so let's walk around, check out the place. May's brow creases when you announce your intentions to take a stroll. Mind how you go, she says. Amberhead's surrounded by cliffs, and we don't have your fancy street lamps here. Take the lantern and watch your step. Outside, you see what she means. The sky is overcast and only a few glimmers of moonlight peek from the clouds. Without the heavy lantern, you'd be walking in near total darkness. You cannot hope to get an overview of the village tonight. Maze Street is a narrow passage hemmed in by squat, dark buildings. At the end, however, it opens up. A wide thoroughfare leads off to your right. A crude sign names it Silbury Street. To the left, a few yards away, your light picks out the crooked posts of a simple fence, and beyond that, the ground drops away into darkness. You take a couple of steps closer, but you can see nothing. Air from below cools your face. Then some instinct makes you look around. Go to 86. An ink-black figure stands in the road about 20 yards behind you. It stares at you. You form the sudden impression that it will run at you and throw you over the cliff edge. This is unsettling, to say the least. Seeing it has been spotted, the figure slips down an alley. To return to the safety of the Ledbetter house, go to 100. To confront the dark figure, go to 121. Yeah, let's go after this dark figure. 121. As you approach, the figure takes a pace back, then another. It slips down an alley between two buildings. To catch your target, you must make a track roll. If you succeed, go to 141. If you fail, go to 130. Oh, I don't have any tracking or any hunting. Shooting, I mentioned the shotgun, that doesn't justify. So it's I still want to try to catch him. Oh, you must make a track roll. Okay, so this is not listed under my focus or unfocused, so that makes it an unknown skill. I have to roll below my focus number to succeed. Here we go. 5. Awesome. I actually succeeded at this. Um, and for what it's worth in D6 by D6, a 5 or less on an unfocused or unknown skill is actually an extra success. So this is considered 2 successes. If you succeed, go to 141. Yep, that's the paragraph we were at. The figure moves fast with almost silent steps, but your instincts keep you on its tail. It slips through a dusty courtyard, veering off between iron fences. You close in as it darts around a corner. A breeze warns you that you are close to a cliff edge. The flickering light from your lantern picks out its grassy lip as you charge in pursuit. You slow your pace, watching for unexpected voids beneath you. The watcher pulls farther away, but rather than darting back into the maze of streets, it makes for the cliff edge. You close in. The dark figure swings its head to stare at you once more. You receive a brief, uneasy impression of something wrong with its face. Then it leaps over the cliff edge. Your mouth drops open. You approach the edge, lantern swinging in the wind. Dim light plays on the rock face beneath you. Did you frighten somebody into suicide? Your gut says not, but you cannot explain what just happened. Make a sanity roll. If you fail, lose 1d2 sanity points. You can roll this with okay, that's about the loss. Okay, sanity, I said we were going to use will, which is his best stat. So we need a focus roll, an 8 or better. 2 times 5 is a 10. So that's a success. And in D6 by D6, the tens digit on these rolls, if you're rolling high, counts as an extra success. So a 10 is 1 point above. We got 2 successes again. Not that it's probably going to matter in solitaire adventure, but it might. You find your way back to the Ledbetter house, the lantern trembling in your grasp. If May notices your unease, she says nothing. You feel weary. Okay, so there's something wrong with the face of this creature or this person. Doctor's probably pretty interested in it's this some kind of inbred sort of problem. Maybe we'll find out later. Go to 63. As May stands, you hear a clunk behind you. You look over your shoulder, but all you can see is a wooden door securely closed. May Tutts, the young lady of the house. She'll have been listening to us. Ruth, come and greet our guest. There's a short pause, and the door creaks open. Two wide eyes peer at you from the gap between tousled hair and a rough nightgown. What do you say? The eyes blink. Pleased to meet you. Now get back to bed. The door closes again. My daughter Ruth, 10 years this summer. She's a delight and a torment all in one. Don't worry, she sleeps in with me. She'll not disturb you. Good night now. You retire to your room. It is a little chilly, but you are too tired to worry about lighting the fire. The sheets are clean and the bed soon warms up. The silence outside is strange after living in town for so long, but you soon drop off. Now go to 154. You dream of fire in the grate, coruscating colors shimmering through the dancing tongues of flame. At first they are tiny, almost microscopic, but they grow and grow until a kaleidoscopic inferno spills from the fireplace, spreading across the floor, up the sheets. You wake with a start. Daylight glints through the curtains. You get up and examine the grate, blinking the sleep from your eyes. It is quite cold. If you've taken any damage, you may heal 1 hit point back for your night's sleep, which I haven't. Okay, now go to 166. Weird dream. May seems to have no running water, but has supplied some in a ceramic jug. You freshen up at the washstand and go in. She cooks a hearty breakfast and leaves you in peace to eat. At about 7:30, you are paid up, packed, and ready to go. You bid May goodbye, and she wishes you the best for your new career in Arkham. If you succeeded at a skill roll last night and wish to investigate the results further, go to 178. Otherwise, go to 192. Well, we succeeded in chasing that figure, so let's check that out. You retrace your steps of last night. A few villagers watch with polite curiosity as you thread your way along the northern cliffs, bags in tow. In time, you think you've found the spot. Heart thudding in your chest, you peer over the edge. Nothing. With the benefit of daylight, you see the cliff is not the bottomless drop you imagined. It leads to a shelf some 20 yards below. It could still be a lethal tumble, but you see no body, no blood. Make a spot hidden roll. If you succeed, go to 112, otherwise go to 192. All right, what are we going to use for spot hidden? Doesn't That's a stretch to say it would be a doctor's ability. At least this guy. Automobile persuasion. I don't think spot hidden applies to him at all. So this is an unfocused roll. We need below an 8. Wow, I am lucky. A 2 times a 3 is a 6. And so we succeed. Make sure I'm on the right paragraph. I am. If you succeed, go to 112. Your keen eyes pick it up after a couple of minutes of scanning the cliff face. There are a series of protruding rocks combined with what look like man-made incisions. The effect is an ingenious hidden stairway that leads down the cliff. No doubt the dark figure used this to descend safely. You look along the lower shelf. You see only a few drab shacks off to your right. This might have been an interesting find were you not about to leave Emberhead for good. Okay, you've discovered a secret. If you ever need to climb or descend this northeasterly cliff, the text will offer you a hint. Okay, at that point, if you want to try the staircase, add 100 to your current entry number and go to that new entry. If that new entry doesn't seem to fit, you should return to your original entry and carry on. Restore 1 sanity point. We hadn't lost any. And you may check mark the small box beside the spot hidden roll. You know what? I'm going to say that this means we have actually picked up a little bit of the spot hidden, and I'll do that instead of putting a check mark behind a skill that's not on the character sheet. And spot hidden sounds like as good a thing to call this as any. Oh, and a note. If ever asked, if ever given the opportunity to climb down this cliff, add 100 to the paragraph. Okay, and I know the note is behind my image, but we know it's there. Go to 192. You're already tired of your heavy bags. Hopefully, Silas has repaired the motor coach, and you can resume your long journey. A sourpuss he might be, but the old driver seemed to understand his vehicle well enough. You pause to check your watch. Still 20 minutes early, and round the final corner. The motor coach is gone. Okay. You put your bags down and search the area, trekking up and down slopes and around corners. At the edge of the village, you trace the long road back as it winds across the hills. 8 o'clock comes and goes. There is no coach to be seen. A passing villager notices your bags. Looking for the bus? I heard him take off at first light. He's due back in 3 or 4 days. If you need a place to stay, May Ledbetter rents a room. The man raises his hat to you and strolls on into the village. You curse Silas under your breath. Perhaps he went for parts. But you wonder if the old goat has stranded you here on purpose. Hmm. Well, it is Call of Cthulhu. Go to 218. May is doing laundry and looks surprised to see you again. Forgot something? When you explain the situation, she offers to store your bags while you try to arrange alternative transport. You are grateful to relinquish the load. Yeah, after dragging these up and down the cliff edge. Nobody here has anything like a car. She strokes her chin and narrows her eyes. Maybe you can find somebody with a horse and a cart for your bags. I could ask around later. Try Mr. Winters at the village hall. He'll know if anyone will. Or ask among the artisans. Their workshops are first left on Sulbury Street. She reaches over and squeezes your wrist. Don't worry, I won't see you sleeping in the street, money or no money. You thank May and turn to face the village. Go to 6. You wander the streets of Ember Head without any particular destination in mind. The village is built on a relatively flat upland with splendid views. To the north, the hazy tips of the White Mountains reach for the heavens. To the south, the sparkling waters of Lake Winnipesaukee touch the horizon. The village itself takes less than 5 minutes to cross from edge to edge. You arrived on the winding road to the west. The only other road leads to the south, following a lower ridge of land as it turns east. In the southwest of the village, an open grassy space borders a ruined church, its graveyard cresting the cliffs. To the northeast, the three main thoroughfares meet at a raised black metal structure. It looms stark against the blue sky. You may now ask about transport at the local general store, seek out the village hall, or walk down to the lower level and check out the eastern road. Let's walk down to the lower level. I think our doctor would like to get a better idea of what is all around here. 115. The air is fresh and the walk down to the lower ridge invigorating. Yep, good for our health. You notice cultivated fields stretching through the lowlands around Emberhead, and among the crops are some livestock, but no horses. Are you going to have to make your way? Uh, are you going to have to make your onward journey on foot? Further down, the road skirts the edge of the ridge and descends. There are a few scattered hovels here with signs of habitation. They are set a substantial distance apart. As you examine them, a door opens and an older man steps out. He wears a bedraggled suit, but carries a piece of cloth which he tosses over his head like a hood. As he does this, he sees you and freezes. Make a luck roll. If you succeed, go to 127. If you fail, turn to 135. Um, that does not sound like any kind of a skill or occupation ability. Um, and I don't know that it would really apply to one of the attributes. So let's just try rolling against focus, I guess. I don't want to put an extra stat in here called luck, or we could treat it as another unfocused or unknown skill. Think it's fairest to consider this an unknown skill. Apparently not very lucky. So we are on paragraph 115. I don't want to forget that. Here we go. 4 times a 5 is a 20. Wow, we blew that big time. So if you fail, turn to 135. 135. The strange man breaks into a run, fleeing from you along the ridge. His gait is lopsided, but his movements have a maniacal intensity. If you give chase, turn to 150. If you have better things to do, turn to 160. Wow. You know what? This is too freaky. Um, Maybe there's some disease going on in this town or something. Let's figure out what he's running from. 150. You break from the road and pursue the man, feeling wild grass snatch at your feet. He sprints around the ridge, attempting to elude you behind the very rocks that support the metal structure high above. To catch the man, you must make an opposed roll with your versus his dex. This man has a dex 38. He scores a hard success on a roll of 19 or under and an extreme success on a roll of 7 or under. Make the man's dex roll, then make your dex roll. Okay, his dex is a 38, which we said 40 was pretty low on this. So I'm going to consider this an unknown roll for him, and uh, we'll just give him a focus of 10. If I were playing, uh, if I were running this as game master, I would have uh, a few stats I would throw together right now. But yeah, let's give him a focus of 10. That'll work. We're already penalizing him by skill choice. So below a 10, a 5. He succeeds. 2 successes. So I think, let's see how well I do. And boxer, swimming. Um, I'm going to, I'm going to say this means I'm in pretty good shape. And so I'm going to make this a focused roll. 8 or above. An 8, exactly. So I succeeded, but I got only 1 success to his 2 successes. Do I want to push this? In D6 by D6, characters start with 3 drama points they can use to affect the lower of the 2 dice. Basically, you add those points before, and we'll do it this way. We'll just put 3. I can change that later. Maybe quit hitting the caps key. We're close enough to needing to stop, me needing to stop this recording that, man, if a player gave me that excuse, I wouldn't allow it. So, nope, I'm just going to say the guy got away. We're not going to spend any drama points on this. We might need them later. Man, but I am curious. I'm not sure what to do if I do catch him. You know what? I am going to spend it because there's definitely something going on here. I've been stranded in town. I've had one person, kind of disfigured person, chasing me or following me once, and this guy is um, disfigured and running away. So this 2 becomes a 3. 3 times a 4 is 12. That means I've got 2 successes. I've exactly matched him. Okay, so he hasn't gotten away. Let's do this for another round and see if he does manage to. We're running like one immediately after the other. I don't know why. Maybe the grass is tangling me up, making it hard for me to catch him. But here we go for him again. He needs below a 10, and he rolled a 6. So only 1 success, but he did succeed. And we roll for me, and I need an 8 or above, and there is a 20. So that's 3 successes to his 1. So yeah, I run forward and I guess maybe tackle him to the ground. We'll see how they describe it. What paragraph? Oh, there we are, 150. Okay. If you win, the opposed skill roll go to 172. You draw close to the man. He glares over his shoulder, sees you. Damn you, he spits and slows down. Can't you leave a fella be? You assure him you mean him no harm. We can't talk here, he says. Follow me. Go to 142. You follow the man around the outcrop. He glances up, then steps between 2 rocks and vanishes. Closer inspection reveals a narrow channel leading into the cliff. There's just enough light to see a small natural chamber within. You will feel uncomfortably close to this man if you go inside. You know what? I got boxing. He's something's wrong with him physically, and I've already gone this far, so let's follow him. 191. With wary steps, you squeeze between rocky outcrops and enter the concealed chamber, almost banging your head on the low ceiling. The man settles back against the wall and watches until you draw close. Then he slides back his hood. Make a sanity roll. If you fail, lose 1 sanity. Then go to 199. Wow, okay. Fortunately, I focused my will. So here we go. An 8 or better. Please, dice. A 12. Okay, so I succeeded. Then go to 199. Some of the man's face remains. A strip from the side of his jaw to his right eye socket is healthy and pale, if aged, but the left side is consumed by angry scar tissue. One eye droops, hooded by melted flesh, and the nostril on that side is pulled open to leave a gaping hole. The disfigured man studies your reaction with his one good eye. Name's Arbogast. Willard Arbogast. Guess I don't need to ask what brings you to Emberhead. If you claim to have come for the festival, go to 206. If you admit that Silas has stranded you here, go to 214. 214. Well, I'm going to pursue this a little further. The swollen mouth, that swollen mouth gives a little twist downwards. Son of a bitch has rat's blood. His fingers tighten into a fist. Go to 221. Well, that's as far as I'm going to go in this video. I will leave it to you to decide. I'm going to make a note to myself. that's where I will pick up in finishing off this myself. But hey, I hope this has interested you in the adventure. Certainly, I'm going to finish it out. It's pretty cool. And I hope that this has given you a decent introduction to the basic ways that D6 by D6 role-playing game works, and how easy it is to make the decisions to adapt it to Call of Cthulhu. At least I'll be doing more videos adapting it to other game system solitaire adventures. Anyway, thanks for your time, and see you around. Cheers.